it's James, and yeah, we're there now. So this is going to be about my Starlink install. So let me tell you how we got to this point. So I still have a day job, which means I need to be able to work kind of from anywhere. I can do the job remotely, which is good. So internet service is kind of a must. We had been getting by with the Verizon hotspot and hotspotting our phones, and that's fine. But then after this summer, when we were camped near some folks who had Starlink, we kind of mooched off of them for a while, like, hey, this is kind of nice. And so then they have their RV plan now where you can actually pause service for the months where you're not using it. So I thought, all right, fine, I'll jump on the bandwagon. So here I am. Now, I'm going to show you sort of how I installed it. I'm just going to go into actually the physical install. I'm not going to get into the networking yet because I kind of haven't decided what I'm going to do on that side yet. But I'll show you the physical install of how I installed Starlink. And it starts off with, I did not want to permanently install it on the RV, like, a permanent roof mount or something like that. And the reason why is because, Starlink, it's a satellite internet service and it needs kind of a line of sight. And so obstructions, trees, buildings, canyon walls, those are bad for service. And so to be able to get the best service, it comes with a 75-foot cable, right? And so I wanted to be able to preserve that ability to move the dish, 70-something feet away from our campsite, right? But sometimes 70 feet away from your campsite is right in your neighbor's campsite, and you can't necessarily do that. So sometimes I also wanted to be able to at least get it up over our RV on like a pole mount. So I wanted to keep two mounting options. So one is the little short mount that it comes with, and then the second is a pole mount. Now for the pole mount, no big surprise there. I just went with Flagpole Buddy. And basically what that is it clamps onto the ladder, and then there's two aluminum pole sections and this little gold cap, which is actually just 3D printed if you look at it. The gold cap on the pole, and then it all kind of mounts up and it gets your Starlink dish up over the roof of the RV. So that's fine for that. And then, it comes with a little squat mount where you can just put it out somewhere. So I have those two mounting options. But then is the next problem, and that's cable management. So if it were mounted permanently, it would be easy because I would just run the cable and tack it in place, and I'd be done with it. But I've elected not to do that. So I've got to be able to run cable, wherever the thing is. But, router inside, dish outside, and I need a way to connect and disconnect it, right? So that's where I turned to 3D printing. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the Starlink cable itself. It's this weird, stupid, gigantor proprietary cable that's got a right angle thing on it, and it's big. And to be able to pass it in and out as you hook and unhook the thing, it requires a fairly big hole, like bigger than an inch, to get the cable in and out without having to wrench on it and cause too much difficulty. I'm sure at some point someone will make adapters to use normal human cables for the Starlink, but for right now it's this weird monstrosity cable. So I needed kind of a pretty big hole. So what I elected to do is to mount and kind of set up the Starlink in what I'm calling the utility closet now. And I call it a utility closet because it's an exterior storage compartment, and it's got the cat's litter box, it's got a vacuum cleaner, it's got a water filter, and now it's got networking all installed in this exterior cabinet, utility cabinet. So, but I can't leave the door to the utility cabinet open because then, Mel could walk out and run away. I don't know if he would, maybe he would. Anyway, but I can't leave the door open, so I have to pass the cable in and out. So I 3D printed this. And this isn't the one that I'm going to install. This is like a rough draft. So what it is, it's a 3-part thing. So the way this works is there's this piece, which basically I installed this. First I drilled a 2 1/8 inch hole in the bottom and the floor of the utility cabinet. Then I put a little goop of silicone around this. I 3D printed this. I designed it. It took an afternoon and printed it out. Put some silicone on there. Stick this up from the bottom up, right? Then you take this piece, which is the inside piece, you put this in from the top, and then it screws together. So then it's going to stay in place. It's not going to come out. Now, to keep that hole closed when we're underway, when the cable's not in there, I made this kind of little stubby bolt thing, right? And this threads in underneath. And so when we're driving along, there's just this bolt and it's completely sealed up at that point, right? And then I made a little lip on the inside of this thing for a grommet. This is a 40mm grommet, and this is just one I've messed it up pretty badly, but it fits right here in this lip so that basically, well, you get the idea. It's sealed up, and then you can just push the cable through this grommet like that, and it's kind of sealed up when you're using it. So that's how I got the cable in and out, right? You just poke the cable up through, okay. The next thing I needed to do was to install an electrical outlet in that utility cabinet because all the other outlets I had were like used up or inside. And that actually turned out to be the most difficult part of this whole enterprise because every place I wanted it, I almost went all the way back to the circuit breaker panel and ran a new circuit. And the only thing that stopped me from doing that is that I figured I've only got one slot left on my circuit breaker panel, and I just know that at some point in the future, I'm going to need to install something that's going to require its own circuit, and so I'm saving that because the Starlink router is like 50 watts or something. It doesn't deserve a whole circuit on its own. So anyway, I eventually, and I got to keep the wires tidy because, the cat's litter box is in there, and he's curious. He'll claw at stuff, and so I wanted to tuck the wires up out of the way so the cat wouldn't get into it. Installing the outlet was kind of the most difficult part of the whole thing. So that's the install. So when I want to deploy the Starlink, I just basically take this out of the bottom of the thing, poke the cable through, hook it up, turn it on, everything's great. I can close and lock that storage compartment door with the Starlink installed and running. So we're all secure that way. And when it's time to go, I kind of just do the reverse, right? I can unplug it and pull the cable out, stow the Starlink. Now, to actually stow the dish, I have in that same utility closet, I have this little wooden platform that kind of goes over our hydraulic leveler, the pump for that. And so I covered that with carpet just to kind of keep the dish from getting scratched up because it goes up against that. So I covered that up with carpet. And then the dish and the cable and even the little feet for the squatty dish, that all fits in that compartment. Then in the back, the flagpole buddy thing comes apart into two sections, and I just 3D printed some little L brackets that screw down to the L track that is in our gear garage, and I store those back there. And that's pretty much it. So that's how I've installed it, the physical install. Now on the networking side, I haven't decided what I'm going to do there. We have still got our WeBoost / Verizon hotspot solution. And for right now, we're just going to have two different networks in there. And depending on what's deployed, we'll connect to one or the other. When that gets to be kind of annoying, maybe I'll look at something like a dual WAN router or some sort of Speedify kind of VPN type solution. I don't know. Haven't decided. We're just going to run with two networks for now. So kind of curious. So who else out there? I know a lot of you are actually using Starlink now. Am I overblowing the limitation that I think I'm going to have with like trees and mountains and buildings and stuff like that? Should I just go ahead and mount it permanently to the roof and be done with it? Or is what I've come up with kind of okay? I'm kind of interested in your opinions because I'm just getting into this now. So if you want to leave comments or ask questions, you'll find a link in the YouTube description that'll take you to a page on the FitRV website. You can ask questions, leave comments, suggestions, say, no, man, the building thing, that's way overblown. It doesn't really happen. Whatever. I'm kind of curious. So that's going to do it for now. James, FitRV.